Hi again. I thought I'd sort of carry on with my Backgammon for Improvers series and um, to do with how to think like a backgammon player because I think there's a lot of stuff in that. And so I'm going to aim this video at again at improving players. And instead of just being like a, a commentary and an analysis of moves and cube actions, it's going to be more about the flow of the game and what you should be thinking, what the players might have been thinking, how to think better, how to sort of observe what you feel and what you think about from the outside so as to be able to improve that process when you sit down at a backgammon board. Um, so this is a match between Cristian Cozos, who I think is Romanian, and Alex Polden. It was from the UK Tour winners, something Backgammon Tour winners. So all the people that won UK events qualified for this tour, and this is the final of the intermediate. So they both won UK intermediate titles, and then they both beat all the other intermediate tour winners and got to the final here. And I'm going to use my arrows and press pause at certain times. So they're using a clock. They've got the normal 2 minutes per game, so 13 points gives them 26 seconds in the time bank. 5-2 split and double 5. So Alex immediately makes 2 points. So there's no hesitation. He knows that this is the right play. And Cristian rolls a 3-1, which means he fans, he can't come in. And now Alex is thinking. But then he picks up the dice and he rolls. And if you notice, he only thought for about 10 seconds. Now, the first thing to get when you play is that you have to get comfortable with thinking. And what might seem like a long time to Alex there, to another player who's accustomed to thinking, will seem like a very short amount of time. And in order to come up with the right decision, you need to give yourself a certain amount of time to think. Now, there are a couple of issues with this. People might not be used to thinking generally about anything in life. It might seem like a luxury or an intrusion. They might have a lot of mental noise going on. And I don't want this to be too abstract and too off topic, but I do think it has application to backgammon, because backgammon is like anything else, things in which we take all our human things and we use them and process them in the game. But in order to play well, you need to get comfortable with thinking. You need to not worry that you're taking too much time and that your opponent will be sitting there fidgeting and not knowing what to do. You need to be able to enjoy the process of thinking and know what you're thinking about. So, for example, in this case, when your opponent has doubled, you might be thinking, oh, well, my opponent's got 2 checkers on the bar. Okay? I'm on roll. I might well fill in this point with a 3-1. I might well fill in this point with a 4-2. Even if I don't, I might well bring 2 checkers down with a 4-3. And then you can even think about what your opponent rolls. There's no harm, there's no law against it. You can then even think about what happens if your opponent comes in with a 4-1, brings in 1 checker, and you will have had your checker here, having rolled your 4-3. He will be here, and then you'll have 6s, 5s, and 4s and 2s and combinations thereof to make the point. So that might be some of the things that you want to think about. Now, you can't think about all of that in 12 seconds. It's just not really possible. Even if you're very accustomed to thinking in a backgammon way, And even if it is true that the longer you play backgammon for, the quicker the thought processes become, you still need to give yourself time to think about things. And that's why you see players taking a long, long time over the board. It's not just that they're wasting time or being boring or dull. They're actually going through all the some of the possible things that can happen in not just the subsequent dice roll, but the one after, and maybe even the one after. And then they might be thinking about the score. Well, what's the score? That takes like half a second. It's 0-0, but to how many points? 13 points. That takes another half a second. Is my opponent likely to pass or drop? That takes another half a second. Um, is my opponent more likely to pass or drop seeing that it's the beginning of the match? Well, he might be more likely to take because it's at the beginning and he might just think, well, I might as well have a go. Excuse me, not much to lose. So anyway, the fact that I know that this is a double and a pretty big pass is not the point. The point is that you have to start getting comfortable with thinking, and that's generally the difference between serious players who played for a long time and players who are play really well. They play really well. They get the right plays, but they just miss doubles and things like that because they don't give themselves time to think. So let's carry on. So Alex doesn't double, and he doesn't give his opponent a decision. So he rolls a 5-4. So he's going to bring 2 down. That's fine. So what's going to happen next? I wonder what's going to happen next because I don't know if so. Cristian managed to bring 1 in, so he's still got a checker on the bar, and Alex should be thinking whether or not. Again, he doesn't pause, so Alex should then give himself time to think. Now, but the fact that he didn't think before the last go suggests that he wasn't going to think now. So that makes perfect sense. That's logical. So we can expect that he doesn't think, but really that he's compounding his error by not thinking on the first go because he should be thinking here. Not that it's necessarily wrong not to double. It might well be too good to double. The fact is that he has again not given his brain time to look at the position and to see what's happening. So 5 he's going to hit. And again, it doesn't really matter too much what he does. I don't think I would do that. I would probably leave it slotted, leave the man there. So luckily he didn't. He would have got hit. And now Alex suddenly doubles from nowhere. I mean, it's like, why is he suddenly doubling this when he could have doubled before? Why is he suddenly thinking now when he could have thought before? Again, I'm not saying it's not right to double. I'm just wondering why. What does he suddenly see in this position that he doesn't see before? Does he suddenly think his opponent's going to pass? Does he think that it's not too good anymore? I think these are all strands that have some truth value to them, but it's impossible to say exactly what the case is. And it would be interesting to ask Alex, of course, what exactly he was thinking here, or whether it was just a bit of a mishmash of things, of what I've just outlined, and also things like, oh well, I'm going to double now really quickly, and just by force of will, I'm going to make my opponent pass. I'm going to be confident. So to summarize, it just seems slightly random the way players go about things. So Cristian took without even really thinking for a second. Let's see how long Cristian thinks for. So we're on 1 minute 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. I wonder if Cristian is even thinking about the position or just giving the appearance, and I don't mean to be rude, but just giving the appearance of thinking. And if we go back to the position, Cristian's going to roll a 4. And Alex is going to cube immediately. So he hasn't forgotten about the cube. Then there are things to think about here. And what we need to think about is, how is the game going to develop? In order to decide whether or not we want to take or pass, we need to just have a feel and a flavor for how the game is going to develop. How likely is it that our opponent will be able to hit us off here? Well, if he rolls a 2 or a 4, he'll be able to hit loose, which means hit and leave the block there and not cover it. If he rolls a 4-2, he'll be able to point, cover the block and make the point. If he rolls a double 2, he'll be able to point on us as well. If he rolls a double 4, he'll be able to point on us. And so what you need to do is to go through some, if not all, of the possible dice rolls and try and establish in your mind what's going to happen. Now, again, the point is, in order to do this, you need to take time. There is no other way about it. You need to sit there and let time pass without anything happening but thought processes going on in your brain. And if you're not comfortable with that, then you need to get comfortable with it. If it's not a priority for you, then it's fine, but you're never going to be a very good backgammon player unless you can get used to doing that. And the point is, I think that Cristian didn't really know what he should be thinking because he wasn't used to thinking about it, and it's probably just taking an instant snapshot of the position and just sort of saying, okay, I think it's a take, without really having any justification for it. So Alex knows how to play the checkers very well. That's clear. He reaches for the right check and instantly and hits loose. He needs to stop Alex making the point. And Christie has had really nothing to do apart from just roll automatically and then just take the cube. Alex will know that now to hit and cover. So you can see that Alex knows how to play the checkers. That he doesn't have a problem with that. That's not his weakness. And the fact that Alex is pausing suggests he does think about the checker play. So just interestingly, just to pause there, just to pause there. I'm going to go back. The fact that now Alex rolls his 6-5, and I'm going to pause there. So Alex makes the right play in the end, but the fact that he moved this checker, he actually touched the checker from here first, and that tends to indicate that he's not 100% comprehending the position, because the natural or the logical thing to do is to move this 6 first. And the reason why that's the correct 6 is because you know that you have to prevent your opponent from making an anchor, and so the 6 is almost mandatory to hit him off the 2-point and put that block on the bar. And you don't worry about whether you get hit back. All you know is that you don't want him to make this point. Now, once you've played the 6, then you can play the 5, and because there's no real other 5 to play, then you play that down. And it doesn't matter that he played it in that order. The play is the same, but it just is revelatory, or it shows something, or it is possible evidence of about his understanding of the position and how to play it. So anyway, Alex is going to make the right play. So I think you can see that he's comfortable with the play. He just touched the wrong checker first. So Christie is continuing to roll force rolls. So there's nothing really that he can do apart from just wait. And he should be thinking about whether he's going to lose 4 points or 2. They're going to be thinking about what it's like to be 4-0 down. Let me just go back there, because I missed that. So that was obvious, coming in and covering. And again, Alex knows how to play the position very easily. And it's just a question of whether he can come around and cover this man, and whether Christie can come in. And that's really nothing to do with anything backgammon. It's just luck, and there's nothing really to be decided here. So I'm just going to like fast forward a little bit, see what happens. So he did manage to cover, and he's just going to bear off for the gammon. Basically, we're not going to worry too much. And Christie lost 4 points. So Christie should be thinking, well, I'm down 4-0. What does that entail? That should be a background kind of thing. So when I'm playing, there's this kind of background thing. Oh, I'm down 4-0. I'm down 4-0. It's a kind of a background noise that's always there. Just so I know that to make different cube decisions and checker plays because of the score. So the score is there to remind you, not just to see who's actually going to win. So anyway, 6-2, Alex splits. And let's see, Christie hasn't really done anything in the match yet. Let's see how he's thinking. Okay, so this is pretty clear, but often you want to hit with numbers if you can. So hitting wouldn't be terrible with a 3-1. 5-2 is an automatic play. Okay, so he touched Christie. Noticed he touched this checker, and then he sort of lifted his hand off it. So he wasn't absolutely sure. He's just playing, a little bit too quickly. Again, because he's not really comfortable with thinking, possibly. And 6-5 is the right play, and so he sees that very clearly and plays it smoothly. So that's good. Okay, hold on. Whoa there. Okay, so let's just pause that with the 6-3. Let's just pause the 6-3. Sorry, to go back to the 6-5. Now, before Alex rolls, Alex should know that he has to. This is the key feature of backgammon. You need to escape your back checker. One of them's already been escaped. That's a good thing. Now, even higher priority, because Christie has got a sort of a block in front, and he's got an attacking block. Once you have the 5 point, it's not just a block, but it's a block that can be extended easily by hitting loose, by putting a checker just on the hitting the man off the point, putting the checker in the air and risking being hit back. And that is a common idea in backgammon. And now that can happen. Now Orange has that possibility. It's very important for Alex to escape this man. Now, if you notice, the reason I paused it is because when he obviously doesn't know what he's going to roll, and then he rolls a 6-3. He puts the cup down, it's like 1 second, he gives himself 1 second, and he hardly thinks about it. Now, I'm not saying this is the right play, the wrong play, excuse me, but it doesn't seem as if he's given any thought to coming out. So it sort of gives us an indication that he might not understand that it's an absolute priority to come out. So what I'm highlighting is that if you don't have in your mind the objective and the game plan, then you're less likely to make the right moves. And if you do make the right moves, it can often be just because you got them right by chance. So Alex makes the 5 point and decides to leave the checker there. So presumably Okay, so double five. If Christie is up in the race, then that's fine. It seems like the right play. He took his time and he thought about it. Now Alex is faced with a bit of a quandary because because he's stuck behind this block and he wants to get out. But if he's behind in the race, then it makes no sense to race because you're likely to lose the race if you're behind. So obviously, then you prefer to aim for contact. But if you aim for a contact position, you could get attacked. And I'm sure Alex would understand all of those features, but I think that he hasn't looked at the position long enough to fully balance them out. And I don't think he has counted the pips either to see whether he's behind or not. And if we count, I'll just count quickly: 71, 87, 17. Alex is 132, 132, and Christie is 52, 92 to 160, 126. Now, this is after the roll. So Alex is down 6 pips after the roll, which indicates that he should probably stay, but it's really close. He could get attacked. Again, it's not about what the right play is. It's about trying to come to the final decision. So Alex would need to know what the pip count is here. There's no shortcut. Of course, if you're absolutely super talented and you can just look and see what the pip count is, then good for you. But usually you have to actually physically count it. So Alex stays there. And even I didn't, because I'm doing this video, and that's an example of mistake. I didn't think of something there, and because I'm thinking of something else, and this is probably what's happening with them. But Christie just rolled. He didn't even think about doubling. I mean, again, it might not be a double. It might be a double. Who knows? But we're playing a game of backgammon using the doubling dice, and Christie should be able to know even before the roll that if Alex failed to escape, then he's got a strong position, and that he shouldn't even have to remind himself to be thinking about doubling. He should have thought already, I'm going to think about doubling before the dice roll. Or alternatively, or I'm going to think about doubling whilst Alex makes his 6-1 play, because I've got a hold, a mental map of the position as we're playing, that like a sort of a reading a narrative. I've got an understanding of what's going on, and it's sort of chopping and changing but as each dice roll goes on the board, as each cube is taken or passed, as the score changes from 0-0 to 4-0, and this is how you start to make good decisions as a backgammon player. So Christie didn't even stop, and he just rolled a 3-1. Now, he would need to know, again, this is a difficult decision, he would need to know that he's up in the race, or to know that he shouldn't hit here. And the only way to know that is to do a pip count. And we did a pip count before, and he was 126, so he would be 4 pips up after the roll. So he decided not to hit. I don't know if that's the right play. Alex knows double five, he's going to come out. He probably knows without thinking he's ahead in the race. That's fine. So that's good. And now Christie is fine not to think about doubling, and Alex is fine not to think about doubling because the race is going to be really close. And this is not good. It's not really very good to stack your checkers up here. So this is Alex's first sort of checker play misunderstanding. When you're bearing into your home board, you want to get checkers on your 4-point as well, and even your 3-point. So now that Alex has rolled his double six, he's kind of going to be knowing that in a second I'm going to be doubling this guy out. He doesn't need to really think about anything. I mean, it might be a take, but it's definitely a double. Okay, so it seems that he did know that. He did have that in mind. And the question is whether Christie realised that he was going to double. So it's a sort of, again, and I know I'm doing this as I'm developing ideas as I think. I mean, that's how I like to do it. But it's also preempting, knowing what's going to happen before it happens. Anyway, so Alex takes a 5-0 lead. Christie should be aware of the score. So Alex rolls a 3-2. That's fine. We're not going to get into problems with that. Double six is fine as well. Just pausing it because my arrows were... Okay, so a good pause. Good that he played the 2. This is the strongest. This is the point that you need to make. Four, 3. And I can just sense, I'm going to pause it a second, that Christie seems very sort of calm, almost like he's not there. And I just get the sense, even from watching the board with only seeing his hands, that he's sort of, there's a sense that he's just almost resigned to losing, that he's resigned the game. And I wonder if I'm projecting something of my own or whether I'm legitimately picking up on something. And as we're looking at the psychology of the game, I wonder if this is something that Alex can pick up on subliminally, maybe, because it's something I'm getting that Christie is not he's not fighting. He's not got that sort of edge about him. So he rolled a 4-3. Let's go back a little bit. And he points, which is the right play, and he does it quite quickly. And you can see that Alex is not sure how to play this. I think I would come up. I'm not sure either, but you could see he was a bit flummoxed by it. So Christie knows how to play that. He knows that he needs to make the bar. It's an obvious play, but it's important to highlight that he knows that. Now, will he think about cubing? Will he actually stop and think about cubing? Probably there's no need, because I didn't see that Alex can run here, and he should do. He eventually sees that, so he stopped and thought, that's good. Oh, and Christie does cube. He just immediately cubes from nowhere. So he must have thought, okay, well, if he's exposed this man here, I suddenly like it. And from absolutely nowhere, whoa, Alex just passes this and gives Christie a point. And having seen this for an additional second, it might not be such a terrible pass. But Alex didn't really give himself a chance to think about the position, what's going on. What happens if Christie does roll a 4? Well, Alex could come back in with a 1. He could come back in with a 5-4 or a 3-2. What are the really punishing, dangerous rolls for Alex, and the good? So therefore, the good rolls for Cristian, like double 5. You know, things like this. Anyway, the point is that the cube action happened way too quickly, that you could see that the players hadn't really thought about it. It's like they just wanted to get it over with. Cristian just wanted to get the decision over with. I don't feel comfortable thinking about the decision. I'm just going to pass. Now, just again to repeat, it might be a pass. I didn't think it was. I wasn't even sure he was going to double. But it's like these things come from nowhere. Okay, so now Alex plays 2 down, which doesn't really make sense. It shows that there is there are some holes in his knowledge, especially when you're up in leading in the match. You don't want to forego splitting your back checkers. It's important to be able to establish an advanced anchor to be able to play a defensive game. So again, it's not the fact that he made the wrong play, it's the fact that it shows that he doesn't know that he needs to be making a defensive anchor in order to progress comfortably through this game, because that's what it's about. He wants a comfortable game that accords to his own game plan, unless he has some particular reason that I can't see for doing this. He's probably just used to splitting, but so he chooses that anyway. Let's go on. Oh, a little bit of lag, so double 2 is fine, I think. Again, Alex is good. It's good that Alex knows the importance of these outside points. You can see because he moved the 2 before anything else. The fact that he moved the 2 shows that he knows that that is the important point. That's the most important feature of the move, and then the 6 comes after. Christie doesn't think about cubing. That's probably okay not to think about it. He rolls a 6-4, which he knows immediately is the right play. And this is a fan. And Alex, where he's picking up his dice, he's thinking, and he thinks for a couple of seconds. Okay, I mean, fair enough. I think this is probably a pass at this score. Alex doesn't give it any thought. That's probably okay. But again, there's no harm in thinking. You don't get any extra points, really, from doing it automatically. The only extra points you could possibly get from playing so quickly is to sort of bluff show your opponent that you know exactly what the position is. But what I'm saying to you here is that very good players will know that however great you are, you don't know the position instantaneously. So there isn't really much value to playing so quickly in order to try and show your opponent that you have the absolute measure of the backgammon board. So it doesn't really make sense. Okay. So really, not really that all that much has happened in this match. If you look at it, we were already at 5-2, and they haven't really done much. There haven't been very much argument about checker plays or anything like that. It's just that their thinking and the way that they've moved the checkers has been sort of slightly different to how I expect a good player would do it. And so 4-3 and 6-1, 3-1, all very standard. So they've had quite standard moves. 3-1 pointing is standard. So 4-1, Alex was slightly unsure, but it is right to come in there and try and establish the advanced anchor. But he thought about that's good. He thought about it. This seems to be a weakness in Christie's game. He's not sure whether to hit. So you notice that he does hit. Okay, so I'm kind of a bit wrong about that. He should be hitting. 1. Okay, you can pause. You can see when you've got double 4s or any double off the roof. You know you're going to play 1 in. Fine. So in a way, in a way, I've got no real argument against the playing this four in first and then looking for the other three. But how about you just say, oh, I've rolled double four? Don't give in to the knee-jerk temptation to put that in, and just say to yourself, well, visualize what that one's coming in. It's always good to improve your visualization abilities. One's coming in, and then look for the other three before you move it in. So that's going to be the other two, and then the last one's going to be presumably down. But when you bring it in like that, you've got another three to play. You can sometimes get a bit confused as to how many you've played and things like that. It's much better for clarity for your opponent and for you just to play it all in one go. But Alex just immediately hits the checker. Maybe he knows the play is that without thinking, which is fine, which justifies coming in. If you know the play, then you can play it all in one go. So Christie can hit loose here. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's probably right to hit loose. And it's just interesting. Alex doesn't even stop to think. He's ahead in the score. I mean, he just doesn't stop and think. And I just keep repeating myself, but he might be costing himself. Maybe Cristian would pass this. Maybe Cristian would snatch this, and then Alex could win a gammon. I mean, Christian's got three men back. Alex is shooting at. Oh no. Okay, give me. Let's go. Let's just go back there. Okay, you pick up the dice and now stop. How about stopping? How about stopping? And then, so maybe Cristian would take. Maybe Alex wouldn't be able to get a free point. Maybe Cristian would take, and then Alex would roll a one. And then Cristian would have four men back behind a very strong prime. That's not too tasty for him. Maybe Alex would roll a 4-3 and make this point, in which case he shores up a defensive outpost, and it's very difficult for Alex to be able to, for Cristian to be able to turn the game round. But Alex didn't give himself the opportunity to be able to establish whether any of these situations are the case, and he just rolls. And again, he plays the checkers pretty decently. He has a really good idea of checkers, and so let's just pause here. So Christian's pausing here. I don't really know why, because it's a pretty obvious move. But what I wanted to illustrate is that, well, Alex has got this position now. He's come in. Cristian knows, well, I'm in a bit of difficulty here. What I really need is to roll twos. What I really need is to roll sixes. I need to either establish the advanced anchor or come out. What else should I be thinking about? I've got a weakness in my position, which is this blot on the 1 point. So all of these things should be sort of at the forefront of Cristian's mind. I'm down in the score. Is he going to cube me? What am I going to do if he cubes? Those sort of things. And lo and behold, Cristian rolled a double two, which is a fantastic roll, obviously, because he can just bring two up. He should bring three up probably and just bring one down. I think in any case, he should be feeling like the relief of getting back in the game. And then he should be thinking, well, what's my next trick? What am I going to do next? It's Alex's role, but he's thinking about, well, I've got this advanced anchor, so let's try and my next trick, try and roll some sixes. So maybe a 6-3 or a 5-4 or a 6-5. Maybe roll a double four. He should be knowing that he needs to get these back checkers out. And then as a second priority, he'll be thinking, well, maybe I can extend a block here and make my 8 point with a 5-3. Or maybe I can roll a 4-2 and make my 9 point. Things like that. And just by keeping himself aware of the priorities, he doesn't fall asleep and miss things and start to get confused and bogged down in difficulties. So Alex has rolled a 5-3. and it's not such an easy play. I really don't know what to do here, but so it would stump me as well. You could just bring one man into the 5 point from the 13 point. The problem is that you don't want to just burn this checker here, but you could. So he is going from the anchor, which is possible. So is Christie thinking all these things? So 3-2 will make the point. I wouldn't do this, but maybe it's right. I wouldn't have done that. So now the problem is that Christie doesn't have a good follow-up. So if he was aware of what might happen next, he's going to see that it's very difficult for him to keep on attacking this blot. And now this just changes everything. This just sort of changes the game plan completely. He's going to bring 3 out. I don't see why he doesn't just bring 1. Maybe bring 1 down. Okay. And now if Alex is up in the race, he'll just run, and I think he is. So he knows that. So I think, just to summarise, this is a very standard position, holding position. Not much to say about this. I think Alex is seems to be in much greater control of the game. Sort of knows what's happening, understands the race and whether he should be running, stuff like that. And I'm just going to forward it a little bit. It doesn't matter really what happens here. The race has got a bit closer, and Alex has got this lead, and he's cubing. It looks like it's a pass, but let's see. Christie is thinking here. Is he counting? Just looking at the position of his hands, it doesn't seem like he's counting. He's likely to be moving his hands, so he takes. Okay, doesn't seem like a take. Anyway, we can just fast forward, see if there's any recube or anything like that. No, probably not. And Alex just wins 2 points. Okay, let's carry on. So the sense that I get that Chris is sort of a bit of a pushover almost. It's just letting Alex win. Psychologically. Okay. 3-1. And is Christie thinking, oh, I've got to get back in this game, I've got to attack? This is what he should be sort of clenching his teeth a little bit and fighting. So 6-5 is fine, he runs. What's that, a 5-3? Okay, so he knows to bring 1 down here. Oh. Let's just pause that. Give me 1 second. Alex rolls a 5-3, makes the point. Okay, so Cristian's got a sort of an attack here, but also wants to escape this back man. Obviously, Alex makes the 5 point here. Two one, okay, makes the 4 point, good. Closing in on a cube, not anymore. So Alex has just rolled his best number, I think. Don't know what he's thinking about. Okay. So interesting, Cristian thinks long and hard about certain plays. I mean, you can't do this. Is terrible to make the. It's not that it's necessarily the wrong play, but it's just that he thought hard about it. And Alex hit loose with the 5-4, and Cristian rolled a double 6 and failed to come in. So now Alex is stopping to think before the cube. Maybe he's thinking a bit more carefully because he's closer to the winning line. He doesn't want to make mistakes and give away an early cube. It's possible. Well, Christie's hands are completely still. Is he thinking? What's he thinking? Is he thinking? Is he just sort of inwardly going, oh no? And you know what he should be seeing is that his position is pretty fucking crap. That 2s and 4s and 9s are going to cover the point. He can get gammoned a lot, and then he just takes it like sort of. So now he thinks, maybe when he thinks he's just going to take, that's his standard thing. He thinks, when he thinks about something he's going to take, if he doesn't think, he's just going to pass. So I think that was a pass, but it was more importantly just the tendencies that players have. I wouldn't do. Alex could have brought 2 checkers down there and just left the point, but anyway. Okay, so that Christie is in, and there's just no question that you have to make this point here. You obviously can't hit. It's just much too risky. So again, he's sort of thinking. It's almost like he's thinking for show, as if someone who didn't know backgammon, didn't know what was good or bad. They'd be looking and seeing him making a serious face, and they'd be going, yeah, he knows. I mean, but this leaves so many shots. It's just insane to do that. So every time he thinks it seems like he's getting the wrong play. And this is not to criticize. This is just to sort of become more aware of what you're actually trying to do. Well, the fact that he hit there before suggests that he's going to hit now. That's consistent with his thinking, but no, he doesn't. He just changes to the last. This is another thing. This is what. Sorry, I'm going to have to pause here. This is another thing that. It's not letting me pause. Another thing that. There we go. Another thing that players do that aren't particularly convinced about either play and they're not really sure what to do. So if we go back, not to the 2-1, to the double 2. So it looks like he's going to hit here. And then at the very last moment, oh, I'm having trouble with my. He changes his mind. At the very last moment, at the very last moment, here we go again. Looks like he's going to hit. and then just randomly just changes it and without thinking just picks up the dice. Now, how can that can't serve you very well to do that, just to basically go from one play and then say to yourself, oh, no, I'm not going to make that play. I saw something else and I'm just going to make it without thinking. I mean, it's wishful thinking to think that just because you saw something else that it's going to be the right play. It's just really hope value. And so the fact that Christie did that suggests that he's not really trying to make the right play every time, which is fine if he knows that. He's just sort of moving the checkers about and just playing and just seeing what happens. So Alex rolled a 5-2. And again, you question whether Christie really knows what he's trying to do, what he's trying to do corresponds very closely to how is the game going to develop from here. Well, Christie should be thinking, well, I'm staying back. Alex is going to bear all his men in here and try and take them off, and then maybe he's going to be forced to leave a shot, and by that time I'm going to make my board. This is a very standard, basic backgammon position and a backgammon strategy when you're playing as the orange checkers in this position. But the question is, how well is Christie aware of this? And then how aware is he of not losing 4 points instead of 2, and what the score will be if he loses 4? How aware is he of being able to cube to 4 much earlier than usual? All these things and what differentiates a very good backgammon player from a not so good backgammon player. And correspondingly, Alex doesn't really have much to think about. He just knows that he's going to be trying to bear his men in and not leave a shot. So Christie then demonstrates that he knows he needs to build his board. That's good. That shows us that he's aware of the importance of a strong board. Anyway, those things, we can fast forward it because we don't necessarily need to see. Let's see whether Alex leaves a shot here. No, because he can take 2 men off the 4 point. But it's going to get a bit trickier, so I'm not going to fast forward. Let's see what happens. Alex did something funny with his hands there. He sort of put them vertically, and it was to show that he was thinking about something. Okay. 6-5 doesn't leave a shot. Okay, I'm going to fast forward. Oh, and Christie did hit, and he did redouble. Okay, so he knew obviously that it was a redouble. Alex only had 4 checkers off, so Christie wins 2 points and goes to 7-4. Fine. Good. 5-3, 6-1. And now Christie rolls a 6-2, which is, he understands that he needs to escape. That's the primary objective in backgammon, escape your backmen. Simple as that. Alex can't do anything better than make his 3 point. 5-2, obviously Christie can't hit, so he sees that. So now we're getting an idea that Christie does have a sense of what's right and what's wrong, because he made the 11 point there, which is a very strong anchor, a very strong point. So maybe we were a bit harsh on Christie and that his demeanour doesn't necessarily suggest anything about his play, but this I know is to come out all the way, because your priority is to escape your back checkers. Excellent play, excellent. So I've completely underestimated Christie. Alex could have come out to the bar there. I'm not going to look at Alex's play so much. I'm just concentrating a bit more on Christie now. He is stopping to think, which is good. I didn't, because I'm not playing, it slipped my mind. He should definitely stop to think. He should probably cube as well. But at least he stopped to think about it. That's the important thing. Seems like he's playing a little bit neater and tougher. It's like he's sort of sharper now. He's really trying to grind out and get to a position where he can cube, even though he missed the cube. Okay, so he sees you're going to be basically trying to clear these checkers from the back. But let's see whether he sees that he should be cubing and thinking about, not now, this is probably too early. Okay, yeah, this is the right play. He took a little bit of time. Alex comes up because he's ahead in the race. Okay, I wasn't sure. I'm just sort of concentrating on the orange side here. Now, if Christie is behind in the race, then he might have to hit, and it's very ugly. He doesn't really give much thought to it. But what he should be thinking about, worried about, is how is he going to bring his checkers in safely. So maybe he has the bliss of not really having to think about anything. Maybe that's why he doesn't want to think, because then it opens up certain cans of worms. And he's just happened to roll a very good number, which vitiates, which means he doesn't really need to think about anything. And you see that you get this sense there is a general tendency in Cristian just to roll sort of blithely, or if that's the right word, without really paying much attention to what's going on. As you just get the sense that Alex is much more in there in the zone and understands what's going on. So Cristian is stopping now, so he is stopping. A few seconds. Looking at the position, he doesn't have to understand the position fully. Okay, so he doubles, fine. It's a very easy take. See, Alex is looking and he's thinking. He's counting pips. He's dissecting. It's what needs to be done. That's the name of the game. That's part of the game. Anyway, we can just fast forward a little bit. So Alex takes. Christie manages to get into this position. So Christie's looking to try and gammon Alex to win 4 points rather than 2. That's a bit of an awkward roll. So the question is well, yeah, there's no other play, but he's sort of slowed down there a little bit. Okay, let's fast forward a little bit. Let's fast forward. Oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. There we go, we're back. So Cristian manages to win 2 points. So he was on 4, now he goes to 6. So now both players should be comfortable and they should be sort of in a slightly energetic, tenacious fighting mode. They know that the match is slowly coming to a close, that they're getting nearer the finishing line. They can sort of try and force their opponent to pass when their opponent should be taking, things like that. They should try and get a bit tough. These are all very, this will hit, untechnical terms, but I'm hoping that people will understand. Now the arrows are really sticking. Cristian should know he's got an advantage. He's escaped. He's managed to hit one of his opponent's checkers. That should be in his mind. So having done that, why doesn't he want to play safe? Why does he want to hit? Again, not saying it's the wrong play, but why? Why? Alex just comes in and they're suddenly playing very quickly. 2-1 can point, of course. There's no need to leave a shot here. Okay. And that Cristian should be thinking like, when am I going to be cubing here? When am I going to be cubing? So Alex equalizes the position. And then he has another 1 to play. Okay. Cock dice are the bane of my existence. I don't know why we just don't play dice on checker rule. Okay, so Cristian should realise, yeah, it's a good roll. He gets it safe. That's a great roll for Alex, getting his save. So Alex is now just taking the advantage because Cristian has 1 man back and Alex doesn't. Okay, so double 1, and so he should come up. Again, it's pretty even, so no player should really be worried about missing a cube or thinking about when the cube is. Again, it seems to be a theme about being able to know when to cube, so this will come all the way around. Alex is counting the race. No, he's just counting the race. Notice there was hardly any talk in this game, so Alex will hit. I assume. Is quite a few shots, but it does does some very good things if it works out. And then Alex cubes instantly, just without even, it's like something in his brain just told him, okay, that's definitely a cube, or he's going to pass if I do that. And difficult to explain, for me to explain exactly what's going on, the dynamics there, but it's almost like Alex feels that he thinks he should be cubing there rather than having worked out for himself that it's a cube. So Christy needs to know the pip count, and that's the only way of deciding what the best play is here. Presumably coming in higher up on the 22 is better because he's not really that far down, if he is down. So the fact that Alex is already cubed means he doesn't have to think about the cubing, but what he does have to think about is possibly being recubed and whether to take or pass a recube. So we can see Cristian is, I think, probably up ahead in the race, so he probably should run. He doesn't even think about it. And one of the very easy ways of, thank you, we don't want your hand in the way. One of the easy ways of discerning whether you're up in the race is to, if you can't put the count, it's to see how many checkers you've got on your midpoint. If you've only got 2 checkers on your midpoint, Your opponent's got 6. Well, isn't that an easy way of seeing that your opponent's got 78 pips, you've got 26? He's 52 pips behind, just looking at the midpoints, suggesting that you are ahead in the race. Alex rolls a double 5. So if Cristian's behind, he doesn't want to come up, he doesn't want to run. And he should be thinking, well, how am I going to win this game? Well, again, he's going to have to think about, he's going to have to hit a shot. Alex was thinking of, was that legal? I didn't even see whether that was legal. Yeah, of course it was. I missed that play. Of course it's the right play. So Alex makes the point with 6-3, but he has to leave a shot. And so we're going to fast forward a little bit. And Cristian's on the bar, so he's not going to be able to recube. So there's nothing he can do except just hope not to get gammoned. And he wins 2 points. So on to the next game. Alex split with a 3-2. This is not so important. It's just something you either know or don't know. You need to hit loose on the 4 point. And again, this is not so important, but he should slot this point here. The importance is looking at the flow of the game and getting a feel. There's no real reason to hit on the ace point here. I mean, especially when your opponent can either now roll a 2 or a 1. If he rolls a 2, he makes the anchor, so you give your opponent 2 good things. So double 2, yep. What was... Oh, okay, he only had 3 more, fine. So Cristian should be thinking again, what's my game plan? How am I going to win this? Well, roll a 6-5. That's a good start. Get one man out. What's Alex trying to do? He's trying to block this man in, but he's also trying to make an attacking an attacking position, a position he can mount an attack from, suggesting that let's go back, because he's sort of played it again a little bit randomly, maybe a little bit. I'm not suggesting that I know exactly what the right play is, because the score makes it complicated, but generally his game plan is to, you know, make a 6 prime in front of here. So how does he go about doing that? Well, he can make another point here by playing 1 down and then 2-3, and then he's got another one to play, or he can extend the block by filling in this point. So that's one way of achieving the objective, achieving the full prime, but then there's also the objective of not getting stuck. So then he should be thinking, well, what about moving these 2 up? And then he should be thinking, well, if I move these 2 up, then what do I do with the next 2? We'll probably do that. So this is probably the right play, making the both 5 points. But it's not that, again, it's not to see what the right play is. It's to come to get a good, come by a good method of finding the right play. And in order to find the right play, you need to think a little bit methodically about the position. So just the way Alex moves the checkers suggests that he's not really thinking all that methodically about it. So he's thinking So he sees, you can see he sees the importance of the block. And then he identifies, well, he doesn't want to leave shots. Okay, fine. But and it's almost like from a tree, just fallen off a tree by the grace of God. Cristian rolls his best number, which means he doesn't really have to think about anything, which is just lucky. And he should realise that he's kind of a bit behind in the race, even though he's escaped, because he's got 6 checkers on his midpoint. His opponent's got 2. That's an easy way of sort of getting a rough idea. And then, because he doesn't see that, he just cubes. He's going to be behind in the race, I think. Let's count. So this is, he's 78. Let's use this. 78, 24, 18, 8, and 1, which is 102, 129. So we got 129 versus 40, 26, 10, 76, plus 24 is 100, plus 24, 124, 129, 137. So he is in fact 8 pips up, but it's not very much. And the fact that he doubled there shows that he didn't really know what the pip count is and didn't count, and Alex is going to count. And he's going to take, I'm sure he's going to take, fast forward, he rolled a double 6, he might well have a recube soon. So I'm starting to form my conclusions that Alex has a really much better idea of what's going on and what he's doing here than Cristian, who's just sort of very blasé about everything and doesn't really care or know. Let's fast forward. Let's fast forward here. This is probably a pass. So this shows that Alex's cube action is probably his weakness. This has got to be a pass if you just look at the number of checkers. So Alex has got 10 checkers versus 12. He's got 2 more checkers off. He's also got a much lower pip count as well, obviously. And he probably missed cubes well before. He's probably missing a cube here. It's already a big pass, and this is a big pass as well. And now he cubes here when it's probably a big pass, but not as big a pass as in the other positions. And now Christie is just thinking about it because he just probably doesn't have a clue what's going on. And so therefore the takeaway, from this is that you need to know something about bear-offs. You need to have some sort of rubric for deciding what the cube action is. So eventually Cristian does pass, okay. So 11-6. Just fast forward, it's the beginning of the game, so Cristian has taken a lead. And similar to the last game, Cristian just wants to get this man safe. He hasn't got an attacking position. He won't be able to generate one. So he hasn't been able to get that man safe, unfortunately. It's a difficult play. You could just choose to leave 2 blots. You duplicate 3s, so give him 3 to hit. Problem is if you do that, you don't really put the checkers where you want them. Anyway, so when Christie doesn't have a possible play, Cristian doesn't have a possible play, you see that he takes time to think about it, but he doesn't actually think about some of the more important plays where there are lots of options. Let me pause there to express that a bit more clearly. So Cristian pauses like at that 2-1 play where he literally couldn't find a possible play to be able to pick his dice and move on. He couldn't find a legal play. But when he has normal choices between plays on another checker play, he seems to just choose um, a bit randomly what is the best play, and that's a bad sign, because if backgammon was just a game of making sure we made legal plays, then there wouldn't be anything to it. But it's about finding little margins where you can exploit the dice to make the best play, and you do that in conjunction with seeing what your objective in the position is. So it seems like a similar situation where Cristian is stumped because he doesn't really know what the right legal play is. I mean, how can he play this and then just pick up his dice without having to worry about wasting Alex's time? But what he should really be thinking is like, how can I actually make the best play that gives me a chance of improving my position? And Alex seems to be all about trying to at least improve his position and get to the doubling point and win the game that he's doubled at. And you know, every checker player is an example. Like what are you trying to accomplish before you roll the dice? What's your priority? Well, probably to escape your back men. Okay, so I can see that this does have an eye on that objective, but it just leaves too many shots. And Alex is sort of probably thinking, hopefully thinking, well, if I win a gammon, then I win 2 points and I win the match. And therefore, he's thinking, well, I don't need to double here. I can just not worry about doubling. And if I get hit, then I'm not going to be in a doubling position at all. And if I improve my position, then I'm probably going to win a gammon. So he hits the other checker. I mean, it's pretty obvious he should come down here. And Cristian should be thinking, oh, I desperately need to roll a 2. Okay. So you just see that Alex sees all the plays. And if Cristian doesn't roll a 4, he's in big trouble. And that's what he should be thinking. It can probably breathe a sigh of relief now because the game's likely to be over. So Alex is likely to pass this check because he did it with on the one of the first plays in the game. Okay, he doesn't do it. And is there going to be anything else to this game? I mean, I'm tempted just to fast forward. I think it looks like Chris is going to make, let's see, is he going to make the 23 points? Not yet. Well, Alex will probably go to the ace point after having hit here. Seems that that's his tendency. And not unwarranted to give some thought to this. Okay, he doesn't. So that gives double 6 and double 4 and double 3 as a cover. Notice it's 12 pips away. But I'm going to fast forward and we're going to see what happens because Cristian's got no decisions. Alex is just making his decisions here. And now Cristian is still on the bar. And Alex is looking to just bear off him safely and win a gammon. And I'm going to carry on fast forwarding. It looks like it's only 3 minutes left of the game. So he has one last chance. Four numbers. So Alex knows four numbers. Double two, double one. Why four numbers? Two numbers. So it's a resignation, and that's it. And let's just try and illustrate what's going on in a backgammon game. The finer nuances, all those nuances that when you first start out you don't really see, and that you don't know that actually your opponent's thinking about a whole range of things, and it's not apparent because you can't necessarily read their thoughts. But when just going through these matches, you can get a flavour of what someone's thinking and what they're not thinking. And the conclusion is that Alex Polden seems to have a very good grasp of the game flow and what's happening in the game and what needs to be done to win the match, which is why you play the match. Correspondingly, Cristian, it was less clear to be able to see whether or that he did have that hold on the flow of the game and what needed to be done, and it seemed like if he just slightly sort of um, um, gave up a little bit and just buckled and just almost let Alex win. Okay, so I know that was a